Hey, what's going on, everybody? So, just gonna do a quick little comparison here. We're gonna basically talk about triggers, at least what I have so far, on a little bit of a variety of handguns. First thing I'll say that in general, with pistols, how I feel is that you should always prioritize grip first. So, whatever works for you. In my case, um, I find that I tend to really like the grip on the M&P 2.0 pistols, with that kind of gritty sandpaper type of texture. And I use the pulse wall I tend to use is the large or extra large, really, the largest that I can, just because that feels like the most, I guess, abrasive, but I like it a lot. But it does chafe if I am trying to use it appendix style. So just keep that in mind. But on the strong side carry, um, I really like it a lot for the M&P grips. But in general, get what works for you is my big thing. Like if the CZ grip pattern fits you, use it, go for it. Because I really like their overall style of handguns on the CZ lineup. And then the other thing that I would normally say to cover is sights, but that depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a tactical setup, something with night sights, something with a blackout rear, make sure you prioritize the grip and the sights, I would say, before the trigger. But that being said, that covers the other two things. So let's talk on the triggers. So everything I already have here has already been cleared, but I am going to show clear here so that you could tell before I dry fire. So let's go ahead and start off with the Glock 43, just so that you get a impression on how it looks to dry fire. So here I'm approaching the wall and get into the break here. There it goes. So let's go ahead and check out that reset. And reasonable. I would qualify this as an average trigger. Let's go ahead and do that one more time. So we have our wall here and get into the break. There we go. And no over travel, thankfully. And one more time on the reset. Yeah, overall I would consider Glock triggers to be pretty much average. The standard, I should say. And standard might be a very strong word I'm using there, but maybe baseline is a better word. So from there, let's go to the CZ P10S. Okay. Drop that there and let's get aligned here. So another blade safety, but this one has a lighter pull. So here we are to the wall and much lighter break. And let's check the reset. Much shorter than the Glock. So overall, the CZ triggers, I would say, is pretty much always good to go if you're looking for triggers. Really love CZ in general, and especially with the flat face type of triggers that they have here. The only knock I give against most triggers is that I don't like triggers that basically start from the middle section. I like them to be as far back as possible. So that's just a thing that I typically look for. But let's go ahead and go through this trigger one more time. Go to our wall here, which is there's a lot of creep here. So that is one thing. I wouldn't call the trigger perfect, but there is creep there. But once we get to that wall, that break is pretty easy. I think I measured it at 4 pounds before, and the reset, short. So overall, pretty well done. Very likable. So from there, we go to the SIG P226. You won't find me with the 320 or 365, just because I feel like the 220 series, so including the 226, the 228, 229, all that series, I think, and especially the P210, phenomenal. Still the best of SIG that you could get. But enough of me ranting on that. Let's go ahead and actually go with the I went ahead and deconked so we could see how the double action will go with the P226. So here we are here. We're gonna need some pressure on this. Okay, and I believe it's gonna break soon. Oh, not yet. Okay, let's go ahead and start that over. Gotta remember double actions are a lot heavier. All right, here we are. And we're almost there. A little bit more. And now we break. So just a little bit of getting to know the double action pull here is that you really have to practice with it. So let's go ahead and rack the slide. And now we're going to be in our single action mode. So let's go ahead and bring that out to the reset, which is not too bad. Not too bad. But once you hit the reset, there's still a lot of creep right here, a lot of play, mushiness even, before you hit that wall again, which is really close to the backstop here, but very light trigger pull at this point for the single action right there. So I would call that a very defined wall, but you have a lot that you're working with to get there, which of course could be corrected in the aftermarket, but just something to keep in mind that overall to me can be vague when you're initially pulling, but the brake, can't complain against that. So overall, decent, but so far I would still consider the CZ to be my favorite. But here's my controversial pick, and I'll explain it when it comes to the M&P lineup. And here's my 2.0. I have the tactical slide here, but on the compact grip. So just talking real quick over here, and I know there's a lot of, I'm not going to call it hate, but a lot of dislike toward this trigger. But for me, I think that the pad of my finger fits in that loop quite perfectly. I can definitely see that kind of being an issue when it comes to the hinge trigger, when it comes to those that have bigger fingers and they feel a pinching sensation over here in the middle, or even wearing gloves, which I don't, but that's something to keep in mind in general. But as far as my regular finger goes, pretty much just fits right in the cusp of that. So let's go ahead and test this out. So a little bit of travel here, but you have to disengage that safety to get there. So let's go to the wall, and it feels like we're right there. So a little bit of travel there, and you could even, I can feel the grit, but can you hear it? Interesting. And then once we hit that wall, which is, I feel pretty defined, and it's not going to be too much for it to break. And there we go. And again, no over travel there. And let's get the reset, which I feel is really short. And probably in terms of follow-up shots, probably it's the easiest for me to reacquire on the follow-up shots, between that, here, and back again. Like there's very little creep to be found once you hit your reset and go back to your wall. So whereas there's creep from here, from all the way when the safety is activated, but once you get to your wall here, I found kind of at peace with how I feel about this trigger in general, that once it's in action, I really have very little to nothing to complain about there. So in action, it's probably my favorite, but I think overall, I think the CZ is really where it's at for a stock trigger if you had no plans on modifying anything. But yeah, overall, I'll still go with the CZ, then the Smith & Wesson. And then it's not fair to put the SIG in that lineup, so I'll just save the Glock for last. But the SIG is its own setup. But That covers what I have so far. Any questions or comments, leave it down below. Thank you.